Hello everyone, I'm Rarity here, hey the pony, and everyone else for that matter, and welcome back for some more of the Matty Toys videos. And yes, it has been for quite a few days since we're actually going to be coming back into this particular game alone, and also the Matty Toys themselves. So even then though, welcome back for some more of the Sonic Skin Gear Marathon for the likes of Let's Play of Tails Adventure for the Sega Game Gear. So last time we did manage to explore through, I'm guessing, Koron Forest, and also, Volcanic Tunnel, in addition to Poly Mountain 1, and also the Lake Rocky for the fourth and the final time. And today, for this episode, we're about to continue on and move on to possibly the last island of the game, which is usually involving through Coco Island. So even then note that, since we got ourselves our mandatory items in order to actually finish the game, excluding the likes of Mecha Tails, and in addition to triple bombs for some advantage, and everything else should be good to go for this point and onwards. So yeah, the reason why it has been quite a few days since we're actually going to be coming back to this, and I say that is because I decided to actually go ahead and deal with a double upload for this today, because original plan was supposed to be for the actual purpose of, you know, finishing this game until, you know, the 28th of August originally, to try to get this marathon finished before September started, and possibly the next set of Let's Plays are about to be coming over. But several things has been happening for this point and onwards. Is that first off, we actually been into, actually me, Piglet, and Fluttershy did manage to went over to Dorset for a couple of days. Even then though, that should be really worth running for. So that's the reason why we decided to actually take this a 4-day break. But at the same time, I was originally trying to upload those particular videos on during the uploading for Tails Adventure, excluding Sonic Blast that Blossom is going to be talking through. Unfortunately though, that's not going to happen because of due to a lack of Wi-Fi systems. Even then though, that we decided to actually go ahead and just hopefully trying to finish those games up before we actually start to be talking through some newer ones as well. And even in addition to these couple of remake Let's Plays every once in a while. So even then though, that has been about, you know, since 4 days since we're actually going to be coming back to this particular YouTube channel at this point. And also not to mention, well, I do feel so a little bit rusty at this point in time because, you know, that, you know, it has been quite a few days. So, you know, you get the idea. So anyways, here we have Coco Island, which is essentially the, I'm assuming it's more accurately the beginning part of the final world in the game. And by the way, these little stealth Cocos right there, these are the most annoying enemies in this level because, not to mention that they actually constantly ducking for this entire time. Sometimes if you want to actually desperately try to hit him, sometimes they always attempt to actually catch you off guard. The only time you can only deal the damage off those guys is actually forms of when they stand up. And sometimes they can be really rather annoying to actually hit them because, you know, sometimes if they easily stand up, you can simply just either spin dash towards them easily. But a lot of times that they always try to hit you most of the time. Well, luckily though, they always attempt to hit you for about, let's say, 1 ring per hit. So even then, you don't have to worry about those kinds of stuff. And also the gimmick of this level in particular is the fact that we're going to be coming across into these down arrow blocks, which every time you actually pass through those down blocks, you won't able to come back up, because even then though, that could be acted as like a, you know, a down solid block of any sorts. So even then, I can't exactly describe it as such. So anyways, there are a grand total of 2 different items to actually get in this place, and one of them is actually forms of, we need to actually get ourselves the Sonic upgrade to actually get ourselves the first item in this level. Even though sometimes it gives me a lot of struggling, as you can see, because if you go into the down blocks as soon as you can, you won't able to get yourself back up. So it's gonna be a lot of backtrack heavy for this particular item you're about to be getting through. So even then, I suggest you go ahead and take, you know, the Sonic power-up because, you know, Sonic power-up is actually the best power-up in this game. So even then, though, that could be definitely recommendable. So, yeah, that's as far as I can say. So, a few things I want to mention is the fact that, originally I was trying to actually finish this game before the actual premise of the Mario Rabbids Kingdom battle was supposed to be launching during the day before when this game's Let's Play was about to be finished, but again, because of, you know, apologize for this little long delay hiatus has been going on, because, you know, it's been quite a few days. So, and hopefully we can actually get back into this particular channel and onwards, so even though that should be pretty worthwhile and worth mentioning. So here we got ourselves the final Chaos Emerald in the game, which is in forms of the yellow Chaos Emerald. And basically, our health amount is now up to 99 lives, so this is the only maximum health you can only reach up to. So even then though, and as well as that, your life meter is now increasingly upwards, even to the maximum point. So, gradually we got ourselves all the Chaos Emeralds in the game, so even then though, that should be pretty worthwhile. And I did not meant to go in here because obviously that actually brings me back into the beginning of the, you know, the end of the first section. Now the second item in this level is the forms of if you go to the left and you get yourselves the teleport on device. Which if you ever played any other Mega Man X games or anything like that, this item actually brings out the exactly similar thing, as far as I consider that I recall correctly, because even then I haven't really played too much of Mega Man every once in a while, but I digress. So another thing is worth mentioning though is the fact that speaking of Mega Man, I've actually managed to get myself the next Mega Man game, which actually forms of Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 for the PlayStation 4, which contains not only Mega Man 7, Mega Man 8, Mega Man 9, and Mega Man 10. Which, for I've noticed, I've already got Mega Man 7 for the likes of the Wii U's eShop downloadable version. In addition to that, I also managed to get myself, Mega Man 9 and 10, both on the PlayStation 3 version, because even then though, well, despite the fact that in Mega Man 9 doesn't have the trophy support system, just like how it does it in Sonic 06, which even then though, speaking of Sonic 06, I like to clear things up for a point, is the fact that I was originally trying to actually say to you guys that originally Sonic 06 Redo Let's Play should be up until at the beginning of September, but unfortunately though it has been delayed slightly, but this time on the 5th of September, so just in case it won't be as long as when we actually get into this kind of stuff, so even then though, it won't be as long as it used to be though, so even then, don't worry, that Let's Play should become. Also, this particular sequence right there with Mecha Tails is actually kind of awkward to deal with at this point, because even then though, you have to constantly deal with a lot of jumping aspects, because sometimes jumping in this particular Mecha Tails item is pretty much mandatory in order to actually come across into those, you know, conveyor belts. And by the way, conveyor belts is usually added into this level, because, you know, that's the item I really recommend is actually Sonic, because, you know, if you grab Sonic, then you can actually spin dash onto those conveyor belts fully with ease. So even then, you shouldn't have much trouble to deal with for this point. And also I need to grab yourselves a switch here, so just in case that we're able to actually deactivate the laser gates. So even then once I've deactivated those, then I would able to actually proceed to the next section. So even then it's self-explanatory, kind of think about it. So another thing is kind of mentioning though, at this point in time is that, well, originally I was meant to be, well, me and Piglet and Fluttershy meant to actually just to stay at Dorset for more accurately 5 days during that holiday, session. However though, unfortunately though, we decided to actually cut in 4 days instead of 5 because, Fluttershy was actually currently ill at the moment, because even though she has catch a cold, and even then though, that's why I decided to take her home early, amongst other Piglet and myself included. So even then though, that we decided to actually go home a little bit early, so even then though, that's why we're essentially trying to make it a little bit more safe for Fluttershy's sake. Anyways folks, on to the actual mini-boss, or in this case the boss fight, in Coco Island, which appears to be more accurately a little bit of assistance or anything like that. So, what happens was though is that he forced us to actually get into the basement part of this particular, you know, this particular point right there. And basically in this particular phase, actually you don't have to necessarily fight against with him. It's more likely a puzzle solving section, because even then though you have to bomb those breakable blocks, and at the same time, once you deal with all these 2 breakable blocks, and you should be able to take control of Mecha Tail, so just in case you're able to navigate for those really thin narrow gaps between. So even then though if you actually guide him all the way to here, and you should be able to fly up, and then you should be able to shove off the boulder, and you would able to kick his butt. And that way, that was it. Pretty self-explanatory, but the only hardest part about this particular fight for me sometimes is the forming of the second breakable block is actually a little bit tough to break. Which even though sometimes you have to be right on with this little timing jump, and also the adjustment to the throwing bomb system. So even then that should be pretty worthwhile for this little save. And now we can actually escape from Coco Island, and we immediately get back into Lake Rocky again. But this time, the fortress is about to be appeared. Sorry for a little bit of a tangent right there, but I digress. But what we can do here now is the fact that, you know, with the rocket booter that we've got from the likes of Poly Mountain 1, that item is pretty much mandatory in order to actually finish the game, actually, because if you don't grab yourselves the rocket booter to begin with, you won't able to actually go ahead and finish the game unless if you manage to equip it. So even then though, let's go ahead and use the Vulcan gun and also the anti-air missile, and even a mine every once in a while so we can actually just keep. So even then though, that is going to be the final time we're going to be seeing this particular transformation. And as soon as you get yourselves the rocket booter on, you'll instantly transport into the Battle Fortress, which is essentially Battlefield Fortress Part 1. Because I say Part 1 is because the first part in this level is the fact that we're going to be doing more accurately something that's almost relatable to that Gallagher syndrome. Which basically what you have to do is just constantly shooting at those little Coco army into this fortress right there. And basically that's all you can do and you can get. And by the way, if you get hit by this Coco army, then you instantly lose like 5 rings and such. So you have to be very careful with those kinds of stuff. So yeah, that's all I can say about this guy. So in this case, in this particular level. So, and of course this level only brings up 2 different sections, or in this case 2 different segments. The first segment is basically we're about to be going for this first section within a horizontal position. While the second section is all about going up, so even then it's a bit like an opposite. So even then that we're actually going to be going on to the vertical position. So that's actually pretty interesting. And of course, if you actually equip yourselves the anti-air missile just to begin with, then this should be not that much of a trouble. But even then though, that if without it, then you're going to get hit by these missiles a lot. So even then though, you have to watch out for it. You know, excluding the likes of these little, you know, Cocos, they usually drop these mine bombs every once in a while, so even then, it's not too bad, honestly. And of course, you get hit by these cannons for more accurately 5 rings instead of like 10, because I'm quite glad that it usually does that, because you know the in a Lake Rocky level that if you come across into those little weird missile objects in the actual water level, that can definitely hurt you bum like dozens amount of times. Not I guess if you manage to reach to the top, then you instantly manage to transport to the final level of the entire game. Now before we get into this actually, we need to actually just to regenerate our health for a bit, and also that we can actually just decide to do that because, well, if I have lesser amounts of rings before I jump into this level in particular, then I won't able to actually finish the game with ease. So here we go folks, and ponies out there, welcome to the final level in Tails' Adventure, known as Battle Fortress Part 2. Now I say Part 2 because now we can actually get into the actual platforming section. And before we actually get into those kinds of stuff, there's actually the final item we can actually get in this level in particular. And it's entirely up to you if you want to actually get yourselves this particular item right there, which is the wrench. And the wrench is very helpful if you don't manage to get yourselves the Sonic upgrade, or in this case a Sonic item. If we manage to come across into those little weird purple items, if we're actually going to be seeing for this part as soon as we actually just see those. Yes, you see those right there. You can actually use the wrench until you actually decide to change the conveyor belt direction. So even then, that's really recommendable if you, again, if you're expecting, if you don't get yourselves the Sonic icon, which even then, oh my god, these enemies are by far the most annoying enemies, as far as I can tell, because they always really trying to catch you off guard. Especially the noticeable in these down arrow blocks, because if you do manage to get catched by those as well, then you would able to actually go ahead and backtrack for that as well. So it's a kind of annoying inconsistency, but I digress. And of course, you're definitely going to be using the Mecha Tails, because Mecha Tails is very much mandatory in order to finish the game. So it's actually pretty cool that he appears to be in the beginning part of the game, once you finish up with the boss in Poly Forest, as far as I can recall, then you can actually able to use this particular contraption to actually scale for you know, thin gaps and whatnot. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. And of course, I'll be able to be using the Sonic's icon for the majority of this level's sake, just because, you know, it's a godsend. Because what makes the Sonic icon so cool to use, specifically in this level, for example, that originally, if you're actually just about to be first time playing for the game, and if you grab yourselves a wrench item, and you're expecting to actually change the conveyor belt parts, but for Sonic, you can just essentially completely ignore that, and you can essentially use a spin dash most of the time while actually decide to go for this conveyor belt. So that's pretty worth a while, and it's also pretty cool at the same time. So or in this case, a 20% cooler, as far as when Rainbow Dash already told me about this. Well, at least as far as the actual the fashionable clothings of hers from the Grand Galloping Gala, if you do say so for this much. So anyway though, yeah, this particular level only contains 3 sections, so even though the first 2 sections is basically a platforming and a puzzle solving type of level. And the third and final part which actually leads us to the final boss of the game. Well, I won't say the final boss just yet, because there are a grand total of 2 different bosses we need to actually just about to, you know, go through all this stuff. Which even then though, we'll get into those until we actually get into those kinds of stuff. But even then though, yeah. So of course that, you know, we're pretty much almost nearly towards the end of the Sonic Game Gear Marathon, but originally I was just, you know, trying to actually complete this entire marathon before September started, but again, you know, 4 days delay and all that stuff. But even then, though, that we're going to be doing this a double upload for today, and especially noticeable in the next game, which I believe Blossom is going to be tackling through, which was, you know, Sonic Blast for the Game Gear. And by the way, that game is going to be the final game we're going to be doing a tackling for that Let's Play on the Sonic's Game Gear Career department. So even then, though, we can hopefully try to actually finish the entire marathon during time. At least specifically for those points. Well, at least in the beginning of September, if you do say so for this much. So even then, though, yeah. So, yeah, as far as I can tell, that another thing that's worth mentioning, though, is the fact that I've recently managed to complete myself, Hey Pikmin for the Nintendo 3DS recently. And as far as I've got into at this point, I managed to collect all the treasures in the game. And even including all the levels of the game actually, and even for defeating the final boss already, which even then though, that's essentially the easiest final boss in any Pikmin game history. Which, if I can gather, that unlike Pikmin 3, that's Pikmin 3's final boss is easily the hardest final boss in the entirety of the Pikmin franchise. But even then though, I found that Hey Pikmin's final boss is actually a lot easier, to be honest. Well, at the same time, it might be pretty ridiculously challenging too, because the only challenge I need to actually accomplish on this time around is actually front of no Pikmin lost in any level in the game, which, to be honest, I don't think I could do that. I gotta say this much, Epic Pony. Because the one makes it a little bit difficult to actually just to not lose any of the Pikmins whatsoever. It's probably because of how the fact that the ultimate challenge is by simply you don't want to lose any of these Pikmins in the entirety of the levels themselves, obviously. And even then though, that's probably because of how the fact that because of these enemies do have the random pattern, I think the most annoying enemy in the entire game, at least in my opinion though anyway, is with these little flying bird type enemies, which are really unpredictable to actually just to see what's coming. Which even then though, sometimes they always try to catch me off guard. Which even then though, that's probably because of how the fact that I want to actually go for a nice perfect run into the actual Hey Pikmin game, but unfortunately though, I haven't got a chance to do that. And also another thing is worth mentioning though, is that whenever I got to Hey Pikmin on my own time, oh my god, the last extra level, which is essentially, Sector 8X, which is essentially the extra level in Sector 8, which I believe is actually called, Burning Bulk, that is definitely the hardest level in the entire game, at least in my opinion. Well, not for the actual level itself, because this level is really easy to be honest with you guys, or in this case, Every Pony. But even then though, for whatever reason, I always found that the treasures themselves are actually the hardest part about the level. Well, usually the first two treasures aren't that hard to get through, because the first one is actually— what in the world? What in the question is going on here? I managed to clip for those little, breakable blocks, and I managed to, you know, still managed to get a chance by living for doing so. Oh, I hate these down blocks. They're far from unpredictable. Anyway though, yeah, regardless of that, yeah, the first treasure is pretty simple, and the second treasure is not that hard, but the third and the final treasure in the entire game, or in this case, the entirety of the level, oh my lord, how can I— don't get me started on the third treasure on level 8X, because, the thing is about this level, as far as the actual premise of the actual, you know, the treasure itself, all you have to do is just basically carry up a bomb rock, and in order to actually to save the actual bomb rock is that you don't actually manage to you know, don't want to let the other Pikmin get exploded and whatnot, which even then, that's a lot of pain. Especially noticeable how the fact that this is basically more likely a spiritual sequel to New Super Mario Bros. Wii level, which I believe is actually forms of if I would guess it correctly, it will probably be level 5-4, because you have to deal with the bomb in order to actually break those certain solid blocks, which even then, that can get a lot of pain at times. So anyways, here we go, on to the first part of the final section in the entire level, which is actually forms of the, you know, this jet right here, or for that matter, the little Hulk type of guy, that we've already seen this guy before, so ever since the Holy Mountain 1, except the fact that he can now actually attack you this time around. So in order to actually deal with him is by simply you have to, you know, recommend you actually going to be using a triple bomb and whatnot. Which even then, if you do it at the right time with this little throwing adjustment kind of type, then you would able to deal the damage on him. So even then though, that should be pretty worth a while. And also another thing is worth mentioning though, before I actually get into the final boss of the game, recently, the Nintendo Switch, Indie Games Showcase has recently announced there's going to be a sequel to Super Meat Boy, known as Super Meat Boy Forever, was about to come onto the Nintendo Switch, which even then though, that's actually pretty cool, by the looks of this little standpoints and whatnot. So even then though, that's actually pretty worth a while. So, anyways, as soon as you deal enough damage on him, sometimes you actually put in these little different attack patterns, like for instance, you're actually going to be doing this little, a horizontal attack blade position, and at the same time he does just as that, and even then though, he's pathetically easy as long as you actually get yourself a bomb throwing adjustment timing going on. So, but again, once you deal with that, then you would able to actually, get into probably the final boss in the entire game, but at least we'll actually get into it as soon as we deal with him, and there you go, he's now dead. Filled with explosion of death. Yeah, eat that. But that's not over yet, because now we get ourselves the grand final boss in the game, which is known as the Grand Coco the 15th. Which I believe that's what the actual name of the actual guy is called. But basically, this guy was pretty simple, because basically what you have to do is basically you have to constantly throw the bombs at its head. And if you do that, then that deals the damage. Be careful, by the way, because as you can see, that if you get close to him, sometimes you actually just, I would say strangle you, which even then that costs like 4 rings, so even then you have to watch out for it. And of course, if you get hit by a bomb, you'll lose about 2 rings. So, yeah, just keep an eye on his attacks and whatnot, and yeah, the first phase is not that much of a problem. The second phase is that you, basically every now and then, he starts to walk around all over the place, and whatever you do, don't go close towards him because again, as far as I established earlier, he will try to strangle you for more accurately 40 seconds or just trying to chuck you. So, yeah, that's as far as I can gather for this fight in particular. But once you get the hang of this pattern though, then it's not too bad, and it's not that hard to begin with. So even then though, I still really think that the second boss is easily the hardest boss in the game for me. But once you deal with the Grand Coco the 15th, then the actual game is fully ended. Which even then though, now we can actually see the true ending of Tails' adventure for the Sega Game Gear. So even then though, that Tails immediately flies back all the way to home, and the Battle Fortress has managed to, I'm presuming, sink in? I'm presuming that's what this is going. But if you ask me about this, at least I might actually agree to some call me Johnny about this, is the fact that this will might actually be an appropriate ending for the Battle Fortress explodes, and then, you know, Tails just walks by, and then, you know, basically functions the same thing as what Mega Man 7 does. But usually that's all I can get, people, or every pony out there, or brownie out there. So, oh no, on Tails' Adventure, this is actually a pretty, cool entry of the Tails game they usually existence from. Like, this is very similar to the likes of the actual Metroid series games, like Metroid 1, 2, and, you know, the rest of the Metroid 2D ones. But even then, though, that, the soundtrack is actually expected for these, the Sega Game Gear. It looks very, very, very memorable. And even then, though, the visuals do look very great. Even for the actual Tails model this time around, it's actually a lot more detailed. And it's also quite emotional as well. Which even then, though, that's probably due to the fact that, you know. And also the story is very complex too, like there aren't any involving through Sonic or Knuckles. Well, technically those two characters, because they usually act as the actual items for Tails' adventure. But even then though, that Tails did manage to kick the likes of the Grand Coco the 15th, which is essentially the leader of the Cocos themselves, or the Coco Army. So even then though, that's actually a pretty interesting villain. Which I kinda wish that villain makes a return, however though, but unfortunately that's not the case. So, the only negative thing I can think of about this game to me though is that I find myself easy to lose control of myself, even though controls might take a while to get used to. But once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. And speaking of such, the gameplay itself looks very, very identical to the likes of any other Metroid titles. Well, at least specifically the 2D ones. So, yes, you definitely recommend this game. If you manage to get this on the... I'm presuming this game did manage to came out on the 3DS eShop download. I'm presuming I might be wrong about that. But, you can also get this on the likes of, as you expected, for Sonic Adventure DX, Director's Cuts, one of the final unlockable Game Gear titles, during the Sonic Adventure DX compilation disc. And also you can manage to play this on the Sonic Gems collection, which thankfully you don't have to unlock that, it just unlocks it from the start. So, yeah, that was about it for, Tails' Adventure for the Sega Game Gear. And as you can see in this ending sequence is that Tails is going to be building himself a giant Mecha Tails, but at the same time exploded. But even then, that's all there is to really say about the ending. So yeah, tune in next time of the final Game Gear Sonic game Let's Play, is that Blossom is now going to be doing Sonic Blast for the Sega Game Gear. So this is me, Rarity, and until then,